Everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. So, today I am so excited because we are going to actually be talking about how to stand out in a sea of sameness. Now, you might notice by my voice today, and I'm going to be clearing my throat the whole episode. I'm a little bit sick. It is the season of everyone being sick, but I was so excited for the guests that we have on today that I could not wait. I could not reschedule. The guest we have on today is a global leader in sustainable energy efficient construction. And he's actually found a way to really differentiate himself and his builder out of all the other builders in the world doing a lot of these same things. So I'm super excited to hear his insights and to be able to share that with you. So if you are interested in that as well, stick around and we'll get into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. So today our guest is someone who is challenging the way that we think about home building and really leading the movement with smarter homes, more sustainable construction, and doing this on a global scale. So I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Mick Fabar, who is the Green Homes, owner of Green Homes, and a global leader in energy efficient home building. And he has projects spanning multiple countries and multiple climates. So I'm really excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for being here, Mick.
Thanks, Sarah. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I would love to. We're going to jump into this whole topic today about really differentiating ourselves as home builders and just a lot of myths and misconceptions that I see out there in the home building industry. But before we dive in too deep, I would love to hear a little bit more about you. Tell us about your journey and how you got to this place that you're at today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be joining you today, and I'll try to give the short version of my journey. I don't want to waste everyone's time, but excuse me. But look, I'm a fully qualified master builder based in Sydney in Australia. And in the early 2000s, I was running my own regional building company. Traditionally, myself and my wife and a couple of project managers and support sales team, and we were building probably 30, 40 projects a year. And where we were operating at that particular time in the early 2000s, about 2003, 2004, there was a significant change in the growth of that location. In came the big guys, the national builders that were building rows of homes or just thousands of product options. They came to the location and just started building our business. Surprisingly, at that time, what I now know is what most builders think. I had a strong local business, local connections. We'd won business awards. I thought we would stand that local consumers would choose us and other local builders over the national guys. I was wrong. National guys just came in and wiped us nearly all out of the game. So the region that we were operating in we had, say, 10 really strong regional builders. And I think 6 or 7 years later, I was the only one that was surviving. But so what happened was, we were building 2 show homes in a location where there was a large development of lots, about 1,000 lots. And there was about 15 other builders building show homes. So it was a row of show homes. Everyone was going to open. And I remember I think the first point of major shift for me was I was standing in the street before we'd started construction, any of us, and standing there with all the other builders getting the intel from the developer about how to access the site and where they wanted us to come in and how we were supposed to run these building sites as a collective group. And I remember standing there thinking, okay, so there's 15 other builders here. We're all building 2 homes. So there's 30 homes. And we're pretty much all going to build the same thing, different facades and different finishes, and we're all going to stand out the front. Hypothetically, salespeople are going to stand out the front, or we're going to stand at the front and say, I've got the best home, the best price and the best quality, build with me. And I just realised at that point it was a race to the bottom. Like, we were never going to compete. And I'm not sure how the other guys competed either. When I looked around, and this very sincerely, one company was giving away a free Hawaiian holiday to anyone that signed a contract. Another company was giving away a free raffle. Every 10 homes they built, someone won a car. Someone else was giving away a $70,000 kitchen upgrade that was free. that was, and we all know that's hidden in the price. It was unbelievable. It was a real moment of, oh, it was an aha moment for me. Anyway, so long story short, my mother-in-law suggested to me when I was stressed about how we were going to perform, how we were going to win the clients, and we'd already seen a massive decline since the national guys had arrived. She said, "Why don't you build something green?" And I went, "Whoa, expensive and difficult. We're not going to do that. That was the default because that's the industry default. Expensive and difficult." I persisted. She persisted. I looked into it further and thought, yeah, maybe there's something in this. Long story short, did a heap of research. Obviously, came to the conclusion that we were going to build something green. So, jump forward. All 30 homes are finished in that show home street. We built 2 display homes or 2 show homes, and they were green, energy efficient homes. They had solar and they had batteries and they had double glazed windows and they were orientated the right way. And we did all that stuff, right? We did a lot of research. We redesigned the 2 homes that we were going to build. We scrapped those and we went with 2 fresh new designs. And we put a family of 4 in one home, and they lived there for 12 months. And what we needed to get from them was the data. So we needed them to fill out a sheet 3 times a day, and we had temperature monitors and bits and pieces. So we're getting data from those homes. And we opened the other as a display home, and that was a demonstration home as in a performance sense. I needed to understand how well do these homes perform if we get these things right. Mm-hmm. So jump forward, nearly immediately, our business just exploded. The very next year, we did 44 homes. Then we did 52. It just grew from that. I remember competitors, neighbouring builders saying to our sales team, we're only opening, I think, Wednesday afternoons, Saturday afternoons and Sunday mornings. And I remember, that's the same as everyone, but I remember salespeople going, "What are you guys giving away here?" So we just rebounded, and there was just all these people. And I remember just not really believing that it was going to last. I thought everyone was busy, but actually they weren't busy, and the national builders were building, or the large builders were building stuff for very low profit, and they're relying on volume. And the regional builders that were in that street were nearly broke. We were completely the other opposite of the spectrum. We were not competing with other builders, so we weren't getting price checked. We were winning 80+% of our contracts. So, and rarely, when someone didn't move forward, it was because their lot fell through, or their finance fell through, or their circumstances changed. We rarely, if any, and I know this sounds ridiculously unbelievable, but we rarely lost a client to another builder. We just all of a sudden were offering something that no one else was offering. So our business exploded, but the real insights came 9 months after the fact, where we did the cost tally for the homes that we built, and we're starting to get real live data from the home that was lived in. So first of all, the data was showing that the home was using 70% on average, 68 to 70% less energy than a normal home. When we compared that data with normal energy data, those homes were using less energy. They were maintaining the warmth longer in the colder months, and they were cooling quicker and maintaining a much more healthier living environment in the warmer months. So the data was compelling, and it wasn't just a little bit, it was like a major shift in the performance of the home. The next big thing was when we did the cost analysis per square foot, per square meter as we work here, the cost per square meter or square foot was nearly identical. When we removed the upgrades, the polished concrete floor and stone bench tops and the upgrades that you would have for a show home, when we just got it, but the costs were the same as what we were building previously. So the whole illusion around it costs more to build a green home just didn't exist. I was actually skeptical, or I thought maybe it's just this project. I can tell you that 100 projects in, we were running cost analysis on every project, as every builder does or should do, and we never got to a point where building green was expensive. If the design was right for the climate, orientation was right, the performance data was outstanding, brand grew from there. That was in 2006. By 2012, we franchised in Australia, the brand, just out of need. So we were getting consumers from other parts of the country wanting to build with us. Then we started getting builders that have seen our brand and wanted to tag onto the brand or use the brand. So franchising was an option that we considered. By 2013, 2012, 2013, we were covering most areas within Australia. 2015, we opened in New Zealand. And by 2020 in New Zealand, the Greenhouse New Zealand's in the top 5 largest residential builders in that country. So really started from scratch. We had a commercial building partner who wanted to pivot and start building in the residential space. Opened the brand in both North and South Islands, and they're doing hundreds of homes now. And then in 2017, we got contacted by a builder in the US that wanted to utilize the brand in the US. And my first response was just go and find someone there that's doing it. I'm happy to share the information. We're not really interested, but as it turns out, which is a whole nother story, but I went over to the US and spent 3.5 weeks there on the ground myself doing data R&D, and found that no one was offering a scalable green building system solution design package. And we opened just before COVID, which was just supposed to be a 3-month hiatus, turned into a 3-year hiatus. But so yeah, now we're back on the ground there from 2023 and building in locations across the US, and we've developed a heap of assets for the US. So we operate in 3 countries: the United States, New Zealand, and Australia. And we've won multiple awards, including Global Home of the Year, Highest Performing Home, New Home in Australia, New Zealand, and the US. So we've got multiple credibility awards and credibility third-party endorsement for our product. I'm reluctant to say we are the largest and most efficient and the best green building company, residential building company in the world. And it's just a huge market that we're in on our own.
Yeah.
That's the story of the brand.
You have such an incredible story. And it's so interesting because I feel like this realization that you had, like going back to when you were standing on that street, you're like, all these homes are going to be the same. I feel like it's something that a lot of people, if you sat down and thought about it, you're like, floor plans are similar, the interior selections are similar. So it's not something that seems so complicated, but yet we see over and over builders everywhere. They're doing that exact thing. They're trying to differentiate the same thing from their neighboring builders or whoever else is building in their communities. And so I think it's just a really interesting thing. I also think it's interesting it's not just us here in the US. So we're not just the only ones that are doing that. But why do you think that exists? Like, why do you think that builders resist doing things differently, even though they know that like they're really not doing anything that's really setting them apart?
Yeah, I've been asked that question multiple times. I don't know that I've got the exact answer, but before I answer that question, can I just say that for our US-based listeners here, we build the same way in Australia and New Zealand as you build in the US. When I first went to the US, we had this illusion from people within the industry, didn't even think we had toilets inside our homes in Australia. So I can tell you, right, so everyone's listening, we build exactly the same way. It's that in different locations, there's different styles, just like there is in the US compared to Arizona and upstate New York, different style of home, but the process is the same. And more importantly, the consumer journey to building or buying a new home is exactly the same, I would say globally, right? They start at one point and then they go on a journey of education and dreaming and research to get to a point where they either buy a new home or contract build a new home. That journey, within reason, is exactly the same everywhere. So I think it's worth pointing out to everyone, so we're all on the same page. This isn't something that just works in Australia and New Zealand and may work in America. It's exactly the same. And the industry pressures are exactly the same as well. So we've got builders and industry that think, to answer your question, that think building green is expensive and difficult. And the reason I think that is because it probably was in the 60s. It probably was in the 60s and the 70s where it was difficult. We didn't have the data. We didn't have real data. I think that as long as humans have been on this planet, we understand that the sun can heat our living space, right? Yeah. We understand that ventilation and cool air can cool our living space. These fundamental principles have been around since the dawn of time, but I think back in the mid-century last year, we never had the data. And if you wanted to build energy efficiently or build a green home, most people thought that was building it out of recycled material or recycled products, and that was expensive. It's expensive from a labor component, it's expensive from a resource component. All of our homes today, All of the material that we use is available at your local hardware store. We're not using anything that is super expensive. All the material or manufacturers on the planet today have some sort of sustainable pathway. Some more than others. Some have got fully automated, sustainable factories and manufacturing processes. Some are really focused on the performance of their product or their life cycle of their product. But everyone is on that page, and it's growing. And when I say it's growing, it's not the early. We're not in the early phases of this. The early phases of sustainability in products was in the 2000s and the 90s. We're in the mature age of those products. The gap is that builders still hold on to, and contractors still hold on to, the illusion that building green is expensive and it's difficult. And that's because everything about green sustainability is optional for them. So when they do their trade and they get qualified, and there's nowhere in there about sustainability. It's about code, keeping the homes watertight, making sure there's no trip hazards, the fundamental stuff. But we don't think as a group, as a building group, collectively, is like, how do we make this home warmer in winter or cooler in summer? Or how do we integrate the winter sun into the living space? Or how do we make the home hold a core temperature better? What's the understanding of thermal mass within the home? All of those things are really simple when you know them, but it's optional. So the green space is reliant on builders who go, oh, I want to learn more about green. So they go and learn about it and they implement it. So we've got a plethora of independent builders doing that. What we've done is just scaled it. So we've built a business, we've built a brand that is then scalable. So a builder can just tap in on a Friday, join Green Homes. They can open Green Homes in their local location on a Monday, right? They've got all the resources and tools at their fingertips. We've just made it really simple. We didn't reinvent the wheel, but we just understand, really importantly, the sustainable principles behind building a home. And you know what? They're free. Like, they're not complicated. We're not using SIP panels, or we can use SIP panels. You can use modular design. You can build stick home framed homes with normal siding. Like, it's all about incorporating the principles for that environment. You just got to understand the principles. And then for us, it's about credibility. So we've got a great brand. We've got great suppliers. We've got global and national supply partners and arrangements, and consumers, when they go on that journey that I talked about, there's a certain process that they follow, and credibility is really important. So that's how our brand's gone really well. They want to know that you've built 10,000 homes that are performing. They want to know that you've got live data on homes in multiple climate zones, so we know that homes are performing to energy neutral or 70% less energy. And we're doing that daily. So we've got multiple projects that are always being monitored. So as in their performance. Look, that's where I never set out to build a global green building company. It's just been part of the journey, right? One thing's happened, then the next thing's happened, then the next opportunity's happened, and then that's how it's grown.
Yeah, it's clear that buyers want that. They want sustainable homes. They want energy efficient homes. And I've worked with a couple builders who have attempted to add this or to implement these principles, but they even make it complicated for the buyer, is what I've noticed. And it's not only is it, oh, it's hard for us because it's going to be so expensive and difficult to build the home. It's like we make it more difficult for the buyer. Like, we're making it more difficult for the buyer by telling them all of that. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so expensive. It's an add-on, all of these things. So I think buyers want this thing that's going to differentiate all of these options that they have, but every differentiator makes it harder for them to choose it, if that makes sense.
Let me give you a really simplistic example. If we've got a home, if we understand the rule of passive design, or the principle of passive design is about the sun interacting with our living space. Yeah. Now, most people don't know how to explain passive design. We've seen numerous studies that people understand solar passive design is important to a green home, but most people can't explain what it is. So I'm going to explain what it is. All it is using the sun to either heat or cool the home. So in a warm climate, say Arizona, we need to make sure that the sun in the summer doesn't impact inside the walls. We don't want the sun heating the home up. So we need to have the home designed so the roof overhang protects the windows, so the windows are at the right height and the right size to not let the sun in summer, and that the home is sealed or ventilated well enough so any heat that does get in, it remains cool. Likewise, in the winter, we need the sun to heat the living areas in cool climates. So we want all the sun that we can get in, and we want to retain that with the right amount of thermal mass. Concrete tiled floors or internal brick walls are important. If you've got too much thermal mass, the home will perform in reverse. So in a cool climate, we want the sun to come in, and in a warm climate, we want the sun out. We need to have designs that, one, the living areas face due south. In Australia, it's due north. We need to have designs that have got roof overhangs that are adaptable for the climate, and we need to have the windows in the right locations. So it seems pretty simple, right? None of that costs more money to build than a standard home. What I can tell you is you cannot build a home in Arizona and in Washington State or Canada the same design and expect it to perform the same. It won't perform the same. You've
Yeah.
got to make fundamental changes. But those fundamental changes, when they're made on paper by builders and designers that understand sustainability, they don't cost any money. It doesn't cost any more to build that home. Sure, start adding solar and battery and EV, and that costs more money, but that doesn't make a home sustainable. It doesn't make a home green. It just gives it a green energy source. Really importantly, we've got to change our thinking. Builders have got to think about, okay, this isn't complicated. We don't need to tell the consumer it's complicated either. The problem that we've got in the construction space is consumers it's not complicated to them, I can tell you. They know more than the industry, the building industry. And they go to a builder and go, oh, the builder goes, oh man, this is expensive and I've got to add on all this stuff and it's going to be twice as hard to build. Consumer just tunes out. They just go and find another builder. And that's the cycle that's going on.
Yeah.
The consumers in their abundance want sustainability, energy efficient, green homes. That data is compelling. Any builder that's listening, anyone in the industry, go to chat, go to Google, go to your search engine and just type the question. Ask in multiple different ways you can ask them. How big's the industry? How big's the space? How big's the movement? What's the growth on the space? It's $1 billion space. Then ask it the next question. How many builders are building in that space? And you'll get a very surprising answer. Not many. And that's because they think it's complicated and it's difficult. It's actually not. I'm not here to change the industry. I'm just here to do what we do. But the facts are the facts. It's not complicated. It's not hard. But you do need to have a couple of things. You've got to have a great brand. You've got to have great designs. You've got to have great understanding. And you've got to be able to develop consumer trust. Well, most builders can't do that in their business cycle, life cycle, let alone do it in a time frame to turn their business around in a couple of years. For us to get to this point, we're 25 years in. 25 years to get to this point where we've got this sort of credibility and understanding. Right now, today, 2025, this year, over 10,000 projects on our books across all three countries. So we've got significant data. I'm not saying it to brag. I'm just saying that's how well the brand's grown, but more importantly, that's how well we understand this space. We don't do anything else. We don't build normal homes. There is no such thing as a normal home to us. Every home should be sustainable. Different levels, of course, and depending on the design capacity and the climate, and budgets and inclusions, and upgrades. But this is all that we do. We've got multiple homes live feeding data to HQ in different climate zones. And this is fundamentally what I think builders are obligated to give their consumers. We should be thinking like this. We should be thinking, I'm going to build a home for these people. I need to build the best home I can for their budget. It needs to be sustainable, energy efficient, as energy efficient as it can, as healthy as it can. It needs to operate in that environment the best way it can. So I need to understand these principles and I need to incorporate those into that project. That's how we need to think. We don't think like that. So as an industry, we don't think like that. That's the differentiator. Any builder that's listening to us that wants to differentiate their business, giving away a free kitchen upgrade or a holiday raffle or a car raffle or coming up with a new design and going, I've just won a quality award at my local community event, that's not going to change your business. And that's not what people are looking for. Within your circle of influence, you might be able to get people to sign contracts. But if you want to scale your business and grow your business and have stuff coming in, it sounds like I'm trying to sell something. I'm not. The facts are, this is about helping builders understand the change. They need to think differently. And this is what consumers want across America.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's definitely true. I think the data does support what you're saying. People do want this. And I think builders just have a hard time communicating this to their customers. And I think part of it, like you said, is the builders themselves don't understand it. But how do you communicate to buyers everything that you're doing and how this is different and how this should be standard for them?
Yeah, we're in a lucky situation. I think most of our buyers now are already on that page, but we don't have to educate them because that's why they're talking to us. When a buyer starts a journey and they've got, even if they can't verbalize it, but it's pretty simple, right? If you've got a brand that aligns with the moral compass or the vision of the consumer, you got a sale, right?
Yeah.
Consumers shop, our data shows consumers shop when they're buying a house. There's three major points that they fall in love. First, they have to fall in love with the idea of building or moving to a new location. That they have to fall in love on their own doing that. Otherwise, they won't make any effort to go and see a builder or do the research, right? So they have to fall in love with that idea. They have to start dreaming. Then the next point they have to fall in love, they have to fall in love with the concept. That's where we come in. That's where Green Home's brand comes in. They've got to fall in love with the brand. And part of that process is falling in love with a design and a concept and a vision of the way they want to live. And the third part of falling in love is falling in love with the builder that's going to build it. If any of those three things don't happen, that client doesn't build, right? What we see with stick builders or volume builders or track builders is that they've got it asked about, right? They've got it backwards. They want the consumer to fall in love with them at the front end. And that's great. And they've got salespeople that can give them donuts and cakes and take them out for dinner and all that. So that's not scalable or practical. If we've got builders that are dealing with consumers that they've already fallen in love with the process, all the builder's got to do is give the consumer confidence that they can deliver what the project that they want. On our website and through our platforms, we adopt a strategy called sales by education. We give away as much as we can. And how to build an idiot's guide on how to build a green home, green standard inclusions, update data on performance of our homes, whether it's energy efficiency or carbon reduction, life cycle of our home, all that. So we give that away. Consumers fall in love with it. All the builder's got to do is, I can build this home. Here's my price. This is how I'm going to do it. They don't need to overcomplicate it. What I see with builders that are trying to step into the green space is that they overcomplicate it themselves because they think it's expensive. So they're trying to add value for the uplifting cost. Consumers will pay. Here's another question for your activity for your listeners. Just go to Google and type in how much more will a consumer pay for a green home? What you'll find is globally, I think at the moment it's about 17% globally. That's what the numbers are. Now, if they don't cost any more to build, and you've got consumers that'll pay more for that product because they want that outcome,
No brainer.
I don't have to spell out the no-brainer.
Yeah.
The data's compelling. So
Yeah.
builders just overcomplicate it because they don't understand the simple principles.
I do think that the buyers that are coming in, they do know what they want. And so I decided to go on a new home journey for myself. And I was searching for a new home in a new area that we're not from. And it was really interesting because working in the industry, like I know a lot about homes, right? So I'm not super impressed by when you tell me about the flooring and the countertops and whatever, right? But even for myself, like I was like looking for what is it that I can connect with this builder. And I do a lot of research in advance. Like I'm on their website, I'm on their social media, I'm everywhere. And I'm looking for that like connection and that trust to be like, yes, what you're saying, you're actually going to be able to deliver. And I think a lot of builders, they lose that trust because what we see online and what we see in person and all these different places don't actually match up. And so like, why would I believe that you can actually do the things that you're saying? Because everything just doesn't, I've too many red flags and I've lost trust. And I think it's so easy for that to happen. And builders don't focus on keeping that and building that trust long enough.
So I think some compelling data globally, it's US-based data, but we've seen other data reports that show the same. It is a little bit old now. I think the data would be quite significantly better now. But in 2021, there was a study across the US by the National Association of Home Builders. 68% of consumers choose the builder they're going to build with before they make their first inquiry. 68%. Question number one for every builder listening, how are you helping your consumers fall in love with your brand or your business? Because 68% are choosing the builder they're going to build with before they make their first inquiry, right? That's before they even ring the builder. Have you got a website that's going to outrank your competitors? Have you got an offer that's going to get them in? Now, of those 68%, I think it was 95% of the research done is done online. Consumers aren't driving around building sites and seeing if they're neat and tidy. That's secondary or third. That first they're deciding on what builder they want to build with. Then they go, I'm going to have a look at their projects. But they do that online. They follow their Pinterest pages and Instagram page, their socials, and everything's got to line up. You've got to get that consumer trust, right? So when I hear builders, and I talk to them all day, when I hear builders saying, I'm sponsoring the local soccer team, and I go, that's great for a community, but that's not going to win you any work, right? People aren't going to ring you because they see you sponsoring the soccer team. They're going to ring you because they fall in love with your brand. I can remember signing contracts with people. We were Green Homes, right? And we were the only office in Australia back in the early 2000s. And but just by default, I had no idea about how branding and consumer trust worked. Just by default, it looked, because we were rebranding our business. And I can remember signing with a consumer and saying to them, just out for my own research, my own team's research, what made you sign with us? I know I'm above your budget. What made you sign with us? One answer was, when we did the tally for tally on what other builders were offering, and it was apples for apples, you were the same price. And we want a sustainable, energy efficient home. That was a common answer. A number of consumers, I remember one consumer saying to me, one client saying to me, it's so good that you've joined this brand. And I went, we're Green Homes. And they said, yeah, no, we know you're Green Homes here, but it's so good you're part of this big brand. This is before the days of the way the internet works now. And I was trying to educate them. So, no, we are Green Homes. Yeah, no, we know you're Green Homes here, but it's important to us that you're part of this bigger brand. So there's a lesson. So consumers, the data, consumers want, and I know firsthand, they want local builders, local tradespeople. They want to support their local community, but they want national or large brand protection and support and comfort. You can't, maybe in our early days, by default, that was an illusion. You can't, that's not an illusion anymore with the days of the internet. Now, I would think if we re-looked at that data, I would say that 80% of consumers choose the builder that they're going to build with before they make their first inquiry. Here's another piece of data. The first inquiry out of those 80% or 68% of the data, the first inquiry, 82% of people make their first inquiry via a soft touch method, chat, a chat function, a message, or an email. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but all the builders that we deal with and talk to every day, I don't think I've ran into a builder that's geared up to have that discussion at that point. Most builders just don't respond. There's a whole heap of other data. What's the level of comfort when you respond within 2 hours or you respond within 24 hours? How many builders I talk to that get a lead and inquiry on a Monday and they ring them on a Saturday? They don't want a phone call yet. They just want to know that and it should have happened on the Monday, right? So there's a whole heap of stuff that builders just don't do because they've never been trained to do it. They might be really good builders. There's a business management component around how consumers engage and shop. I can tell you from our perspective and our position and our data is they're in their droves wanting green, energy, sustainable, low carbon homes, and builders just aren't stepping up to the plate. There is an abundance of people per capita in the world. So relevance, the US is per capita 10 times bigger than any other country that we've looked at on consumers wanting energy efficient, sustainable homes, and builders are just not stepping up. And I see that as the biggest single differentiator to their business, is being able to offer something that consumers want in an easy to obtain format. You don't need to make it complicated. You don't need to overemphasize it. But all of that comes with a confidence in the brand, and it's not something that you can just create overnight. That's why we exist, and that's why we're growing at the capacity and the rate that we're growing, because we've figured it out. But yeah, that's the data.
Yeah. No, you said something interesting because you're like, we know that people want to buy from people, but they don't want to talk to the person right away. So it's how can you show, who you are, who your brand is, and can make that emotional connection through your website and your social media and all of those touch points that they're going to have before they get to talk to your salesperson. And then second step, making sure that when they do talk to the salesperson, that it matches and the story and the whole experience matches. I think that's like key at the start. But what other kind of advice? There was a builder that was like, I want to start doing this. I want to differentiate myself. I want to start making moves towards this vision today. what could they do as a first step?
Call me. Just call me. We'll fix it. That's what we do. I think we've invested millions and millions of dollars for a builder to reinvent the wheel. It'll take them years, and they have to invest millions of dollars as well. For a builder I explain how websites work, right, to builders. And I talk to builders all day that have spent $20,000, $30,000 on their website, and I go, and they're expecting a big result. That's like taking Hyundai to Formula One and expecting to compete, right? It's just not going to happen. It just doesn't work like that. You've got to have brand confidence. You've got to have a niche. You've got to have communication and words that consumers are attracted to. You've got to have a brand to help them engage. And you've got to have a platform that gets in front of them when they go, I want to build a new home. Oh, I like this idea. That aligns with something that I wasn't thinking about. That's where the magic is. I think the other thing about the building industry is it's a very isolated industry, right? Builders traditionally operate on their own. Everyone's a competitor. Every other industry and every large builder on the planet is in a partnership, multiple partnerships. And it takes a partnership to grow and manage a sustainable, not green, just a sustainable, ongoing, profitable business. You've got to have partnerships. And whether you need to have many partnerships, obviously with the local community, with your business advisors, with a brand. What we see is that builders try to do it all themselves. And number one reason what they fail is because they might be really good builders, but to be a really good business operator is a totally different thing, and you need totally different skills. My message to builders is stay in your lane and partner with the people that will do the other stuff. Just like you wouldn't hire a concreter to put your frames up or swing your doors or put your roof on, and you wouldn't hire a roofer to put your flooring down. You need specific trades. It's the same in business, but builders just don't come from that. They don't recognize that immediately. The ones that do and get it right are thriving. And that's where we come in. That's what we do. I've got multiple people within the brand that are specialists in those fields, right? That's what you need. Every successful business person on the planet is in a partnership of some kind, multiple. And builders need to change the way they think. That's the first thing. I think builders need to change the way they think from how they run their business and who they partner with and what they offer. I think that this is a bold statement, but I think if you're a builder and you're not thinking about sustainability, your business will be redundant by 2030. That's how fast this space is moving. The green space is just in front of the evolution of AI, and AI is making it worse and harder because the information that they want is at their fingertips, right? If builders don't make the shift and understand quickly and adapt, they will be redundant by 2030. Their business will be broken. Even guys that are building spec homes and selling them, you won't be able to sell those products. And consumers are awake up to that.
Yeah, the industry is changing in so many ways, and AI is a big part of that. But I think builders right now are just like realizing that we're in this tough market and things are shifting. There's a lot of unknowns. And so they're looking for ways like, how do we shake things up? How do we change things? But like now's really the time, really, like this last year was really the time, but there's no better time than right now to start making those innovations. And so I'm seeing a shift, which is great. But I always make this joke, like the home building industry is just like slow to innovate, and we're just like slow moving in that way. So it's just interesting to see how things are shifting now, and maybe this is the way that's going to right itself.
I think that, tomorrow's a day too late. I think that builders need to think like that. Tomorrow's a day too late. Yesterday was better than today, and tomorrow's a day too late. To reinvent your business as green on your own will take years. To partner with the right green, if they're thinking green, we can partner with builders, or we're partnering with builders and turning them around straight away. The first thing they need to change is their thinking. Doing the same thing day in, day out and expecting a different result, right, is the definition of insanity. And as a building industry, we do that. That's how the industry works. Slow to adopt. Some say it's reactive. It's not even reactive. In 2019, November 2019, there was a Green Building Expo, the World Green Building Expo at Atlanta, which Green Homes was at. Let me tell you about that just quickly. That was in 2019. 502 exhibitors. And I remember when we were going to that expo, we were displaying. I remember going, we'll work out in America, who's who in the zoo now. We'll be able to find out who's doing what other green builders are doing. I was expecting that the World Green Building Expo would have a plethora of green builders. 502 exhibitors, one builder. That was us. That's a fact. Everyone else was either from a planning and resource or manufacturers. And you know what the funny thing is? Something that President Obama said when he did the keynote speech to 10,000 people. He said, we can talk about green building all day, but someone has to start building green homes. Exact words, or words to the effect of. Someone's got to start building them. What is missing is the quarterback. So if we've got a football field, up one end of the football field, we've got thousands and thousands, abundance of consumers that want energy efficient, sustainable homes. They're lined up over the hill and into the next territory, into the next state. At the other end of the football field, we've got product manufacturers, windows, flooring, siding, roofing, HVAC, all sorts of product manufacturers that have got sustainable products. And in the middle, the only person that can make that happen, that can bring these people together, the consumer and the product, is the builder. Unless the builder's the guy that's got to run the project. He's got to coordinate all the materials, get the design done for the consumer, right? Consumers can't buy the products direct. It doesn't work like that. We had a problem at that conference or that expo, 4 days. I had to fly 2 other people in. All of our material went in the first day. We had people lined up saying, we're trying to build a green home in Charlotte, in California, in Washington. Can't find a builder. I know what products I want to use. I want to use these windows, and I like this HVAC system, and I want to use this solar system, and can't find anyone that will talk to me. That was in 2019. It's just 10x since then. But that's the reality of the space. Builders are just head down, not even focusing, just doing the project they're doing right now, same as they did yesterday, last year before, last 10 years ago. That's how they work. The builders that are thinking differently, once they start thinking differently and appreciating that they need to change or they're not going to be relevant, that's when we start to see a bit of a shift.
Yeah. So you said the first thing that they should do is to reach out to you. So how would someone do that? If one of our listeners was like, I need to talk to Mick, what would be the best way for them to reach out?
You can contact me directly on LinkedIn. We've got a website, ghbuildersusa.com. You can contact me through there. It'll get to my team, and anyone that mentions that they were on the Just Make It Pretty podcast, I'll get them they can send that straight to me, and I will communicate directly. I'm available and happy to help builders and share information. If green homes is a great fit for you, fantastic. If it's not, you've just got a heap of information. I can send you stuff. I'm happy to share information on what we're doing and how to help your business shift and succeed in this market ongoing. And if green homes is a partnership fit for you, great. And if it's a partnership fit for us, let's explore it. But yeah, please reach out. I'm happy to share my journey.
Absolutely. I love the way that you are giving back to the industry with sharing that information. I do hope that all of you guys will reach out and talk with Mick. There's so much more that I'm sure he can share. I know we've had a couple conversations, and there's so much more that I wish I could pack into this episode, but I want to keep it short for you guys so you can reach out to him, find out some more. Thank you, Mick, for being here with us today. I will give you the last word here. If there's anything else that you want to share with our listeners before we wrap up, I will give that space to you. But thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing everything that you have so far.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you to all the listeners that have tuned in. And my last message is something I said before: tomorrow's a day too late. If you want to be relevant and enjoy your work, do good things in your community, build homes that are going to give you a legacy, but importantly, build a thriving, sustainable business, you need to be in the green space. It's not a trend. It's a space that's evolved, and most builders haven't even looked over the hills. I'm just saying, just look over the hill. Just pop your head up, take a break, spend 5 minutes just doing a little bit of research, and then act on it. Don't procrastinate.
Awesome. Thank you again. For my listeners, now it is your turn. You need to do all the internet things. You need to like this episode. You need to go reach out to Mick. His links will be down in the description box. And let us know what you thought of this episode. I'd love to hear from all of you. Also, if you have any questions, please leave those in the comments below. We will tag Mick as well so he can follow along with any of those questions. And I'm always in the comments as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And we will see you in our next episode next week. So bye, everybody.